glad to moderate this panel to share experiences in virtual exchange. Our first panelist is Professor Doris Hernandez Duskova, Director of International Affairs Office, Escuela Tecnológica Instituto Técnico Central, Virtual Community of Support for Mirror Classes. Our second panelist will be me, Professor Olga Patricia Mesa Moron. I am Head of Teaching Internationalization of the Global Network Coordinator in the International Center Lasallian Education in La Salle University, Mexico. I will talk to you about the COIL model. And in the third place, we will have Professor Diana Loera, who is our IALU's Associate Director, and she will talk us about international impact and transformation through virtual exchange. Please remember to maintain your microphones off. Please write your questions in the chat. We will have time at the end of the presentations to answer your questions. Please, Professor Doris, thank you for sharing.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm sharing my presentation. Can you confirm that you can see it?
Not yet, but it says, there, we can see it.
Okay, thank you very much. I am a representative of the Escuela Tecnológica Instituto Técnico Central in Bogotá, but now I will speak about our virtual community for support of mirror classes. It's a strategy for internationalization at home. Actually, our network is, excuse me. You can see the next slide. Yes. Okay. Actually, our network is composed by 15 higher education institutions from 11 countries, but we also have the participation of some experiences from other countries. We can see it on the map. The model is with holding weekly virtual meetings where we exchange some ideas about COIL experiences and good practices. Also, we receive and bring accompaniment in the formulation and development of different initiatives, both COIL and mirror classes. In this slide, you can see the summary of our activities in 2021, some significant results, number of meetings held, the attendance record, the certificated, delivered certificated, etc., and the different countries in the different institutions that has participation in the virtual community of support for mirror classes. Two of our biggest initiative for collaboration is the master classes in language, and also another that we call intercultural dialogues with different slots of thematic reviews, like teaching of languages, entertainment, pedagogical strategies for mirror classes, etc. Also, we have articulation with other initiatives like the virtual academic gathering. In Spanish, it's Tertulia Académica Virtual. We both initiatives are from the ETIC in this slide. We can see the results from the previous year in 2020, we start this virtual community in response of pandemic from COVID, because exchanges was stopped, and we must reconfigure the different strategies for and continue with the virtual mobility. From these results, I want to highlight the meetings peer-to-peer. That meetings are in order to put in touch and put in contact the different institutions to organize the contents in the different practices that will be developed together. These peer-to-peer meetings are very important for us because each institution can describe its strengths and the opportunities for the capacity buildings. And with these results from the last year, we had three important achievements. The first, this experience was recognized by the National Ministry of Education as a good practice of internationalization of curriculum. It was one of the first recognition we received. The second was also as a good practice in the category of internationalization of curriculum in the UN global engagement. We was selected as one of the 4 best practices in Colombia for the internationalization in curriculum. And finally, we was pre-selected as a finalist in the Latin American Awards for Innovation in Higher Education. And this year was one competence with already 200 projects. It was recognition, or it was very important for us and for the higher education institution that belongs to our virtual community. One example for the capacity building, when the institution and the participants belongs to our communities, how we can increase the operation of some institutional initiatives. In the case of Escuela Tecnológica, we have an initiative, Mujeres ETIC. It means woman in ETIC. This initiative initially starts only in our institution, but then we can apply with other projects at national and international level, as La Cátedra Matilda. This is an initiative of a Colombian Association for Engineering Faculties. Here I want to highlight that the virtual community for middle classes is in all fields of the knowledge, but its initiative is only for engineering files. Finally, we have a digital repository with all practices that are shared, both the practices in each institution, also that we formulate and develop in teamwork. Here in the next 2 slides are 2 examples of articulation of the community with other initiatives. First is with internationalization work with open space methodology. It is an example to articulation between the management of internationalization and academic management of the activities from learning, teaching, and evaluation. And the second is the articulation, I have mentioned it before, with our initiative for virtual academic gathering. Is a program but transmitted by Facebook Live. Some finally remarks. First, and the most important, I mean, is that in our community, we recognize the asymmetry of institutions, both academic and internationalization processes, and we create scenarios to exchange the experiences and best practices, and each institution can find Big Brother. I saw it in Spanish, Big Brother, that can take it to the hand and help to organize its processes inside of the institution. Also, this initiative allows teamwork and multicultural collaborations. In the classrooms, we encourage the use of the technological tools for international education, both meaningful and collaborative learning. COIL is one of the strategies for this type of learning, but we also have masterclass, open class, classes peer-to-peer, tandem, etc. And finally, our community delivered one methodology proved for external relations and transfer of good practices. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope that we can do some collaborations forward. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Professor Doris. Well, I will continue with the presentation. Let me share my screen. Okay, I think you are able to. Okay. Well, I want to first of all say that the images contained in this presentation were a contribution of the work produced in some COIL courses and shared by the teachers whom we thank for their support. I am so glad to be here today to share our experience with the COIL program. Let us begin with this quote. The important thing is to recognize that we live in a world in motion, where the knowledge of the other questions ourselves, but also brings us closer to the knowledge of the distance. In short, it is about time that we stop looking at our neighbor to find out that the enriching perception of otherness really tells us about the existence of the world. As we all know, through the use of technologies, it is possible to promote collaboration and the development of so-called soft skills that can respond to the needs of the market that increasingly requires more professionals capable of working with others at a distance to develop common projects. Last year, the arrival of the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic brought education to a turning point, forcing education institutions to adopt distance models and later hybrid models to face the crisis and maintain education as a service that could not be suspended and should continue despite confinement. internationalization seems to be in danger of being suspended. And this is how virtual exchange models acquire the predominant importance and spread with the use of learning technologies. This is how the institutions began to be interested in virtual exchange models, such as COIL, that allowed exchange without mobility and promoted coexistence with people from other places from the academy through a collaboration dynamics and construction of intercultural competencies for teachers and students. COIL, which means Collaborative Online International Learning, is a model created at the State University of New York more than a decade ago. This model offers the possibility of expanding the internationalization of teachers and students, especially those that do not have the possibility of accessing physical mobility programs. COIL is an inclusive virtual exchange model that promotes interculturality through the collaborative work of teachers and students. It is a flexible model that favors intercultural exchange through collaboration, internationalization without mobility. I quote, "Internationalization contributes to the construction of an international institutional culture by promoting the understanding of other cultures and of world phenomena and trends, generating an ethical awareness that respects diversity and strengthening fraternal interactions with people from similar or diverse disciplines in an exchange and construction of new meanings of local and global reality." But what is COIL? We have two teachers and two groups of students that must follow a previously established model, the COIL model, which will allow them to follow a process in which the challenges of intercultural relationship with others similar but not equal, from collaborative work, achieving a common goal that can be the development of a project, a task, the solution to a problem, or simply the reflection on a particular situation. However, the other is defined by Foucault, always present us with challenges. It is not easy to learn to know each other, to work together, to respect differences, to try to listen and communicate in an assertive way, to negotiate and reach agreements, all this to carry out a common task. It is precisely there where the development of soft skills in general and intercultural skills in particular takes place. Furthermore, during the process of the construction of a global citizenship is promoted when the institutions belong to different cities or countries. From our perspective, we understand by global citizenship the capacities that people have to understand the other as a different being with a humanizing vision, respectful of their differences and capable of recognizing the world precisely in those differences. A human being capable of living in harmony with other people while respecting human dignity and who understands that it is possible to work for common problems in a collaborative way, where each one contributes from their own perception of the world proposals that may be valid for the solution of local and global problems. When this is carried out from the academy, the institutions develop strong and open relationships that allow the generation of knowledge and promote the development of skills and values in their teachers and students with the creation of true learning communities. Lasalle University, Mexico, through the headquarters of Teaching Internationalization of the Lasalle International Education Center, has extensive experience promoting this model and has developed a system to extend the use of the model among other Lasallian universities with the help of and support of the International Association LaSalle Universities, IALU. Our experience dates back a decade, and which we have been delving into the knowledge and understanding of the challenges presented by the model. thus developing a favorable system so that the subsequent implementation in the classroom is successful and full of learning. Thus, through this system, we have managed to become the largest network of COILers in the world, and the one with the fastest development in the last 18 months. We have been able to train more than 1,046 teachers. Here are the numbers. But how do we do it? We consider that it takes more than a 2-day training for teachers to be successful, since they must become aware of the challenges of otherness and intercultural relationships in order to have the ability to infer those problems that may result from the collaboration among their students. Therefore, our process is a bit longer than other institutions, but ensures that implementation will result in a rewarding and valuable experience for all. This association with IALU allows us to guarantee the encounter between teachers and strengthen the relationships between institutions, creating a true global Lasallian COIL learning community. But to dig a little deeper, let's talk a bit about our process. We request the registration of all interested teachers through a Google form where we ask them for valuable information, such as the subject they teach, the institution to which they belong, the country in which they are located, and the area of knowledge to which their subject belongs. Subsequently, with this database, we work on the formation of pairs with the help of the UNESCO ISET classification. We first take the subject to seek a disciplinary relationship with the other teacher, in addition to considering other elements such as the institution of origin, the language, and the interests of each teacher. The remaining teachers can be assigned a teacher in an interdisciplinary relationship, and the last ones even in a transdisciplinary relationship. However, we consider that it is not so important since COIL is flexibility and adaptation. We also admit intercultural relations, even if they are not international. It means people from different institutions of the same country, since, as we mentioned previously, intercultural relations is the goal of COIL. There may also be couples who communicate in a third language or partnerships between different academic levels. Finally, we give the training course in Spanish and in English. This workshop course is an asynchronous course mounted on our Moodle platform and is structured over 6 weeks based on the COIL model, in which teachers live an intercultural experience similar to the one their students will later live. During the workshop, the development of the activities is carried out in a collaborative way among peers, and the teachers develop step by step the planning for the intercultural experience of their students. During the 6 weeks, the teachers receive the Lasalle style accompaniment with continuous feedback and permanent assistance through different digital media such as email, WhatsApp, video calls, messages on the platform, or even phone calls. In addition, in the contents, they will find not only the theoretical foundations that will allow them to better understand the model, but also tips and suggestions that will allow them to guide and supervise the work of their students effectively. By means of a friendly and understandable instructional design, the teachers will achieve at the end of a course a planning ready to be implemented in their classrooms, so that no agreements will be pending in this regard. Everything will have been defined during the process. Although we are working on other intercultural collaboration programs, we consider the COIL program our star program for the impact it has on institutions, but at the same time for its great benefits for teachers and students. Next year, we plan to extend the model to the other 2 dimensions of education. research and extension through the development of social impact projects without neglecting teaching, which on this occasion will be focused on the development of projects based on the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. We are excited to know that we can help students and teachers come together for the development of increasingly sophisticated and complex products, but above all, that the network continues to expand by creating fraternal ties between more and more Lasallian institutions, and therefore between more students and teachers. I can only invite you to participate in our COIL program, which begins in January with a registration period and which starts on February 21st. We invite you to become part of the largest network of COILers in the world. And here I share with you some testimonies from the teachers who have participated in our COIL course. The activities scheduled each week were simple and on time, a learning experience for me to keep things simple for our students. I observed that our group is made up of many cultures. I noticed that the saying united in diversity is experienced at COIL. Culture is not an obstacle in COIL. There is respect for the culture itself. Due to the diversity of culture, this is the essence of collaboration. I particularly like the way COIL has allowed us to experience what the students will experience for themselves. In my opinion, it is the best pedagogy. COIL has reminded me of the need to respect virtues such as flexibility, communication, listening, commitment, requesting support, and others. Appreciating the cultural differences of others and striving to overcome them through adaptation is the main characteristic of education. And then, at least, in short, the COIL project makes us put into practice the slogan, "We are La Salle, we make community." Thank you very much. Indivisa manen, because what is united remains. And now with us, we receive Professor Diana Loera. Diana, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I won't share information as interesting as you and Doris, or as technical as you and Doris, but I want to give you a little perspective of how we've seen from IALU the development and the impact of these two projects, of mirror classes, of COIL, of course, and of any project that encourages collaboration. So I will invite you to start posting your questions for Olga, for Doris. So whenever, and I'll try to be short here so we can have time for discussion and a little conversation, which I think we're all craving. I want to start by pointing out, or by reminding, the main objective of our association of IALU, which is to promote relationships among our member universities. We intend to build bridges through all the network and to strengthen relations between our universities as our network continues to grow, and not only in years, but in maturity of the network. I think today we have a stronger network, a more solid network where new opportunities come. And I think we are now more prepared to work in an international and multicultural environment. Today we have more knowledge of our own network too. This surprise, when we see participants of our programs being amazed and surprised about how large our network is, or if we have institutions in Africa, or we have institutions in Argentina, not many of us knew some years ago about how large our network was. And suddenly, international relations was not only coming from international offices in university, but almost any department or college could be invested in international relations. So when we meet with participants in our programs, one of the questions that we get asked most is, how can I participate? How can I collaborate from my position in the university, from the work that I do? When we have face-to-face programs, for example, the Rome program, we got a diversity. Like, no, not everyone is professor, not everyone is administrator. So from where I am, how can I contribute to this network? And professors and students are for sure the main actors of our institutions, but I think in the beginning stages of our network, our relations were depended a lot of the presidents, of the agreements. Of course, sometimes the technology did not allow us to know what else there was. And I think now we have moved beyond, and supporting our presidents and the agreements, we not only them, or even those in the leadership of the university are the ones building these relationships. But these programs have made possible that faculty and students from the classroom are helping us not only build, but strengthen those relationships of collaboration in between our institutions. COIL, as Olga explained before, allows those relationships to be, even if it's not such a long time, between 5 weeks through 11 weeks, it is not much time, but I think it's slowly taking care of the way this is. I think our Lasallian identity helps us, because we are told about building community. We are told about fraternity, and that's what we are doing here. We start, Olga, I've seen, she starts the training course peer-to-peer, saying, meet each other. I don't care about your credentials or what discipline or what education diploma you have. Who are you? Where do you live? What food do you like? So and that makes us start with a relationship with a personal relationship. We experience it, something, they are going to start something together, but being part of one community. COIL helps us eliminate any limitation that mobility could have for some students, even for the teachers. economic limitations, social limitations, political, personal, anything called ignore. So we are helping bring internationalization to the classroom. We are helping those who need it more to be able to have these experiences, to develop main competences in the world today. I think global citizenship, as Olga mentioned, and the competences and skills that the students and professors, of course, need to be successful in this global environment. I think this course teaches practically. Maybe they are not, professors will not mention, oh, and now communication skills or teamwork skills or soft skills such as empathy or cultural skills like learning some of the traditions or social problems or cultural cultural issues of their peers, of their team, are invaluable. So there are studies that show that virtual exchange, when students travel to the other countries, allow the development of skills that sometimes the exchange students who actually live in the different country won't develop. And this development of the global citizenship skills of our students and faculty is our main goal with these projects. Not only because our globalized environment, but because the diversity of our Lasallian higher education network position us in multicultural, diverse environments. And sometimes Olga mentioned that we are the largest higher education network doing COIL, and the growth in so little time. I don't know if Carlos, no, it was in another, we've had different programs this week, but Carlos mentioned in another program that some of the institutions doing COIL for a long time now were really impressed about how COIL had growth in our network. And at first they thought it was impossible that so many people were engaged in such little time. But I think it was our Lasallian identity that was the liaison. Teamwork, culture, religion, technology, communication skills, soft skills, but they are all based in what we already have each other in our institutions, which is the Lasallian identity. So the numbers Olga showed, more than 1,000 professors teaching. If we calculate 15 students per professor, we'll have around 15,000 to maybe 20,000 students who have experienced now this internationalization in the classroom, but not only from an academic perspective, not only an upgrade of academic instruction, because they also have two professors, not one, and our professors are great and have a lot of knowledge, experience. So it's not only the academics, it's the experience in the skills and competences they are building. I think giving students, not only students, but professors, these tools to succeed as Lasallians in the world, and having them know that there is a global Lasallian community supporting us is the main accomplishment of these courses. I know that these COIL collaborations go beyond the classroom. We are now in the stage of collecting data after our first year of COIL training and collaborations, but we've been close to many of the professors. Olga and I get invited a lot to closing sessions. We have evidence. They share their experiences with us. So we know that sometimes one collaboration leads to another, leads to a research project, leads to a travel of all of the class, group travel. So COIL opens the window to many, many, many possibilities with little restrictions. We were able, there is one of the main restrictions our students had, and because of the diversity and the size of the institutions and the curricula, it was not possible to adjust curricula of academic courses to go to another institution, to come to have two professors of different disciplines work together because of curricula. So these kind of collaborations overrule that and make it possible to work together without those limitations. So this is what we have seen. I hope in the future, Olga already shared the next course dates. We have, as for now, we have scheduled 3 COIL courses for next year. And as she mentioned, also we meant to start focusing in specific things like research, administration, so to start helping strengthening those disciplines too. So we welcome now any questions, and I'll return the word to you, Olga, to start facilitating the questions.
Thank you, Diana. Well, yes, we have a couple of questions here. Let me find them. The first one says, as a non-teaching, it is for you, Diana. As a non-teaching faculty, it would be interesting to know also how we can contribute in terms of COIL.
Maybe you're better suited for that one, Olga.
Okay. Well, I am sure that you can contribute because you can push, you can extend, you can make a little bit publicity to your teachers to promote their participation in our COIL courses. As non-teaching faculty, I think the best you can do is to participate in the promotion of COIL. To do COIL, you need a group of students, so we cannot do COIL if we have no teaching faculty. but help us to promote it between just teachers. This will be great for us. And if you are in the condition, you have in charge of maybe internationalization charge or as a leader there in your institution, you can supervise also the work your COIL teachers are doing. To organize events, for example, webinars, for example, some panels where they can share their experience. This would be great for all of us. We are now working on that. We want to make a really very dynamic community where everybody supports the COIL network in somehow with publications, with the webinars, with conferences, whatever you need, you are able to do. And this is what I can say. Thank you.
However, I want to add that was from the perspective of this COIL project, but I was in the same position for many years. I was the head of the administration department, and it was hard for me. It was like activities in the university were focused, most of the activities, to faculty. Most of our identity of our Lasallian activities and formation were focused on faculty. So I think now administrators or any collaborator who is not teaching have much more opportunities to collaborate and contribute. Engaging, I think one of Olga's engaging and trying to find what can you do in your own position. Whatever you do, you do it with the international perspective, and you start, and I've seen this, you start by sharing. And finding the opportunities where you can participate or others in the institution, and that way you are being active, actively engaging and encouraging the rest of the team who you work with in your university. But with all the opportunities and with all the communication that we have nowadays, it's getting easier for people who are not teaching in a classroom to contribute and to engage in this network too.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. Well, second question, this is for me. Since I graduated from the program, I have been surveying my students regarding their participation in the program. I would receive a resounding yes from the Google service, but once they knew the finer details on the collaboration, particularly the time difference of my partner, they all started to cop out. Is it possible to cooperate with other COIL alumni, not just with my partner during the COIL program? Yes, you can. We have the network. We have this roster where you can find a lot of teachers, and you can select those that are particularly good for you or interesting for you, and please write me an email, and I can send you the link to enter this roster and to find our 1,000 teachers there in English or in Spanish, however you want it, and you can select another partner. I can suggest also not to make a survey for the students to know if they want or not participate in COIL. I think we must make COIL as another task of our classroom, as another task of our subject, because it is the only way to make them all participate. And if you grade this participation, they will do it with a lot of enthusiasm, and they will participate voluntarily, and they won't be thinking about difference of the schedule. It is important to say that to overcome this kind of obstacles, like time difference, is what makes soft skills develop. So we must push them to face this kind of troubles, this kind of issues, and they must solve them in a way so they can develop these skills. Thank you. Well, let me see if I find another. Thank you, Olga. Great suggestions. The promotion part is really possible, especially during the events and information sessions I facilitate for students. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Diana, for your suggestions. Gracias, Rondra. May I humbly request for a copy of your slides? Yes, of course. Help me. Send me a message, please, Alvin, by email, so you remember me, and because I have lots of things in my head. So send me an email, and I will and I will answer with the presentation, of course. I think we have no more questions. Someone that prefers not to write and wants to raise your hand and talk and make a question, please. No, you're all silent. Okay, Doris, go on. Thank you.
Want to invite all of you in our littoral community to develop joint projects. We work in 3 levels, in individual experiences, institutionals, and also experiences of networking. Like IALU, we also work with another networks, and it's a methodology to do an inter-networking job. That is the first one, and the second is that we have a group that organize all that capacitations in 3 levels also. The first is the disciplinary work in all kind of all areas of knowledge. The second is the interdisciplinary work is very important. And third is the educational research, issues about the quality of the learning, teaching, and assessment processes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doris. Another raising hand? No? Okay, well, thank you very much to all of you. It was very important for us to share with you our experiences and let you know that we are all interested in making IALU extend the ties between our institutions with this kind of programs. So thank you very much. Thank you for this, and remember we have another conference after this one. Thank you.
It was very nice to see a lot of familiar faces or names. You can see the faces. Laureen, go on. The floor is yours.
Yes, of course.
You. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Got such a mixed geographical distribution here. Okay, I'm so happy to see James and Victor make it because they were in the other room. I hope Roman has moved to the other room by now because he's lost.
He has. I was texting him also. We had the moderator of the other room here, and then the panelists in the other. I think we're okay now.
All right. Okay. This panel actually has presentations that focus on initiatives inspired by the UN SDGs. So this is so exciting. And to start off, let me quickly introduce our first speakers, Dr. James Burke. Okay. He's an associate professor of theology, co-director of peace and justice studies, Associate Director of the Brother Jeffrey Gross FSC Institute for Dialogue, Justice, and Social Action, all at Lewis University, Chicago, in the United States. He is, this is the most important job he has actually, co-leader of the Vatican's Laudato Si Action Platforms Universities Working Group. That's quite a mouthful, okay? But it's such a big job. So James, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Lorene. I feel like this is my first day at school and I went into the wrong room and I was really nervous, but when I found room 2, I feel at home here. I see so many people I know and love, and I just was very intrigued by the last presentation. Lorene, can you enable me to share my screen? Or Diana? While they're doing that, I'll just thank you so much. So I really want to start this few minutes that I'm going to share about the Laudato Si Action Platform is both a thank you and an invitation. A thank you to the 20 Lasallian universities who have already committed to the journey. And I have to thank Diana Loera, my chief collaborator, who has been animating throughout the Lasallian world to get universities to commit. So Diana, thank you. The invitation, though, is to us all. And I think I've been really struck since I've been rereading the Declaration on Lasallian education that it is prophetic that the Lasallian world is calling itself to integral ecological conversion through that declaration. And so I would just like to share a little bit about let me make this slideshow. Hold on a second. Sorry, just want to get it from the. Well, I'll be, hold on one second. Just
recording in progress.
So you all know that Pope Francis in 2015 issued a letter to the world called Laudato Si. That's the Italian name, not Latin, strangely enough. It says it's praise be you, Lord. It's the first words of Francis of Assisi's great celebration of creation, his prayer poem. The English title is Care for Our Common Creation. What Francis did in 2015 was set the world's imagination on fire about really stepping it up on addressing the climate crisis. Millions of people throughout the world, from every background, from every worldview, have jumped on the Laudato Si bandwagon. I've heard secular people quoted, scholars from Judaism, Islam, Buddhism. And so this year, in July, the Pope made an even more practical suggestion. He announced that the Vatican would launch a Laudato Si action platform, which is a global website which would actually invite every woman and man, every girl and boy of goodwill onto a 7-year journey. And the action plan is all about us turning toward ecological conversion, not necessarily just limited to behaviors about emissions, but going from deep within ourselves to connect to creation and the cry of the poor. So the platform will have 7 sectors, and you can see the sectors here. So it actually is going to tie up every community and identity that we have or others have as human beings. Ultimately, I think the parishes and dioceses will be thought of more as houses of worship, because the Pope has, in Fratelli Tutti, issued the invitation to all other faiths and to secular people. But our sector, since we're in the university world, is really the educational institution sector. It's divided into 2. So there's the colleges, universities, and institutes of higher learning. And that's the working group that both Diana and I are on. There is also a working group for K through 12 institutions. This Sunday, the Laudato Si Action Platform 2.0 will be launched. You may remember that there was a 1.0 that appeared I think in May, on the anniversary of Laudato Si promulgation. This 2.0 version is meant to be the sort of place that anyone in the world can go to connect to the 7-year journey. We have developed, now when I say we, I'm speaking imperially here, the International Association of Jesuit Universities really was psyched when the International Association of Lasallian Universities, through the person of Diana and Carlos, said that they were willing to collaborate with the Jesuits on creating a specific website that would be geared to any university, college, or institution of higher learning, tertiary institution, that would commit to the journey. So University Pathways is this very dynamic space that's only devoted to our sector, to this tertiary education sector. And it's meant to build community, to break down our isolation internationally, just as this summit is doing, to have us cooperate and to actually together accelerate our actions to meet the 2030 goal of cutting emissions by half and the 2050 goal of reaching net zero emissions. So you all have probably heard the goals, the Laudato Si goals. I think when I was in the wrong room, what I started to realize was that this whole summit is talking about sustainable development goals. It keeps coming up, UN. But what I started to see was we as universities, at the very bottom here, we've been moving out of our mission toward the sustainable development goals. We've been integrating them. So I think there's a value added for universities, and it kind of breaks down into these 4 points, but it's not meant to replace what we're doing. Look at the Philippines, our universities in the Philippines and in Mexico, and Beauvais in France, and I'm probably missing somebody, who have been actively involved in fighting climate crisis in all of the ways that the Pope is suggesting. But I think the value added for us will be in this uniting on our campuses in shared purpose. We're finding from scholars who have come together in developing the Pathways site, there's lots of imaginative looking at transformative nonviolent conflict measures that could be used to push our governments and to push COP27. COP26 is ending today, but to really push our governments, top level, middle level, even municipalities, to actively move toward what we need as a species. So number 3 is, I think, particularly value added for us. As I've been meeting some of the universities worldwide, we have 80 universities who've committed to the Laudato Si Action Platform already. I'm starting to realize that the Lasallian network has a huge potential in helping other Catholic universities and faith-based universities recognize what it is to be interfaith. We are structurally, intrinsically already interfaith. We have all of these different families of religious traditions, and so I think that'll be something that we can bring. So how does a university commit for those who are not among the 20 of our universities who have committed? You actually, the president of your institution or rector, the chief executive officer, can use this template to write a letter to the Cardinal Turkson, who is the prefect of the Vatican's dicastery for promoting integral human development, and it makes a public commitment. Now, I think Diana can probably share in the question and answer that there's a lot more to this, you know, on the ground in the universities, because we're so complex. But this kind of gets the conversation going. And so the commitment is to 7 years on the journey. So the first cohort, this date has been being moved back by the Vatican, is now going to close. The first cohort, for commitment to the first cohort of the action journey, the universities, will be April 22nd. That's Earth Day of 2022. And so what this commitment is it's saying that our universities who are already integrating our mission with the UN Sustainable Development Goals would use the Laudato Si goals, self-select which ones actually get us going even faster toward our environmental goals. So if you're interested, you can talk to any of the 3 of us here, our Lasallian animator, a self-coined job title. Sorry, Diana. For any questions would be a great start. The letter, once it's ready to go, you're ready to make the commitment, you can send it to Mike Shook at Loyola and CC Diana and me. And we would get in touch with you right away. So let me stop sharing and
Thank you, James. Shall we move on to our next panelist? We have Victor. We'll hold the questions for all three panelists at the end. Okay. So Victor Manuel Alves da Silva is our Global Experience Manager from the beautiful campus of Barcelona. You have the floor now.
Thank you, Lauren, for this introduction, and thank you, James, for your interesting approach before regarding our community worldwide. I'm very happy to share with you this time, and thank you for the organization from Diana, all the people around this organization. So thank you so much. I will just start mention some of the activities we made in our community here in Barcelona about something that COVID showed us in the past. I mean, COVID brings some bad situation for many people worldwide and very sad also, but also we have to learn from the experience and we have to take some positive effects from that. One of them, we just found that now we are more focused on sustainability and see how COVID stops the word, make the environment more, let's say, better for us all. Because of that, because we have the same situation worldwide, I've been joined Lasallian as this global experience manager, which the responsibility is give our students some astonishing experience worldwide. And because we are in this COVID times, we are not be able to go anywhere physically. So we just thought how we can connect each other from this virtual work came more strongly with the COVID situation, and how we can be more environmental friendly. So I'm going to share with you a very quick.
So
Okay.
there are four institutions in La Laguna, and we try to.
We have some person with the mic on. Okay, now we are get it. So I'm gonna share with you one of the presentation I made for this this conversation. So since we see that we are not be able to go anywhere, we decide to do some virtual experience in our campus.
The number of students members.
Again, we have someone with the mic on. John Landeros
with us.
I think John Landeros has the mic on. Okay, thank you for that. So on the May the 13th, we developed our first event with students coming back to the physical approach each other. So something we call technology-driven business experience, China and Asia cultural approach. Basically, Asia, it seems like is going to be the focus of our university as for the study experience abroad in the future. So we just thought instead of going there, bring those countries to our students inside the campus. So imagine the situation, all the classes were online, almost no students in the campus. It was quite interesting, but also sad, because our community is designed to be together and help the students came out with all the learning process and the experience they have when you are in this critical age of your studies. So for the first time after 1 year and a half, we designed together this activity, and it was quite successful, and we are very proud to show some of the results we made. So those are some of the sustainable goals of the UN for the near future, and one of them is basically sustainability. So we host this physical or on-site event, and we designed this event for more than 400 students. So imagine today it's quite normal to see 400 students in our campus, but in May the 13th, having 100 students in our campus where all the education was online, it was a big challenge. How we can attract them, how we can respect the COVID rules situation, because our campus is certified by against COVID with all the hygienic approach to be sure that is a safe campus against COVID. So we designed this experience, and when we thought about them, we tried to make somehow the physical and the online one. And we designed different tracks together with Giuseppe Piquet. We designed a track for companies or entrepreneurial. We designed some culinary track, food for 3 different countries. We designed some workshops related with those countries to show to our community which are the not only economic, but also the cultural approach for all of them all. And then we choose those 3 countries, China, Japan, and South Korea. We have many others, but we doesn't have enough space for develop all the activities that you're gonna see later on. So the timeline was something like this. We have a round table with people from companies, virtual companies based in China. One of our students that developed an entrepreneurial idea 10 years back with very good results. Also, we invite some local government, cultural and economic approach in Asia. We invite Casa Asia, which is an institution who evolve all the countries from that area. And we invite also academic people who has long experience with Asia countries. So that roundtable takes 2 hours, and we discuss many different internationalization and cultural approach, and also this sustainable goals from the UN. Then we do some Asian gastronomy, and finally some workshops. At the beginning, we have, those are the people invited. Some people are from consultancy, as I mentioned before. The director, one of the director of Casa Asia, very well known here in Spain. A director of research studies from East Asian countries. The local government, which is the senior advised Chinese market, and also the Alvaro Montoya, which is a CEO of IALU. This roundtable, as I said before, was physical and online, and the capacity of this venue is around 400 people, but we are more than 120, which is the total capacity respecting the COVID protocol. So keeping the distance between each other. So as you can see in the photo, the venue was completely full, and we are proud of having these students finally in this physical approach that we miss so much after 18 years without this kind of situations. We make this event also live for a Chinese market. We have some representative there. Through WeChat, we have more than 500 people looking at this experiential company's approach.
Whatever there's.
Okay, we have in WeChat, which is the WhatsApp Chinese platform. We have more than 4,000 visualization on the May the 14th, and we know that we have many more during the time. You know how the things are going. At the beginning is the peak and then going down. We have attendees on social media, in LinkedIn, in Zoom attendees, more than 40, and visualizations in YouTube. And this is just a picture, not the total film. It's just what happened in those 2 days, but we know their numbers are much higher. Then we have some approach with the students in the outside in the campus, in the gardens, especially with the culinary experience from those 3 countries, special fruit from China, Japan, and South Korea. And the attendees are more than 400 counted, all of them. Some of the pictures related with this. Also, this is another picture with the moment where we delivering the food for them all. And then we have some typical Chinese lion dances performed by traditional music outside in the campus. It was a very interesting approach. Laterly, we divided the groups in 4 different workshops, and these experiential workshops are related with these cultures. One of them is Chinese calligraphy, where an expert of this philosophy, Chinese art, was with the students which I pointed in the before going there, and again respecting the protocols of COVID protocols as a safe camp. And she develops this calligraphy with the students, and they came out with some of their work at the end. Also, we invite one of the experts in Japanese manga. The person invited for this workshop is a very well-known person related with this field. He developed some of the manga fair here in Barcelona, which is every year quite more famous. In fact, this fair finished 2 weeks back with a record of attendance in this work. Why is so important this Japanese manga? Because if you see the new generations are all of them related with the games, and games came with some of the bases related with this Japanese manga perspective, and how the robots are talking from this manga and how is the origin of them. So on-site attendees were 20, and we divided in 3 groups. So they come, the different groups, the 400 students are dividing in this 4 different workshops, and they fulfill every single space with the maximum quantity of the students based on the availability of the venue for, as I mentioned before, the COVID protocol. Then we do another workshop with the video games, and this is more technological. Remember, Lasallian Barcelona has 3 different specific field, undergraduate, which is business administration with different majors. We have engineering, telecommunications, coding, and we have also architecture. So technological perspective was one of the main focus that we have, since we have a lot of students related with that field. So they understand how the video industry works, and the first game starting with Mario Bros, probably 30 years back. So how does Mario Bros develop the video games so far till today? And finally, we do some more action. We do Taekwondo. As you know, it's a Korean martial art, and this is a an approach for a Korean country word. And we bring some Olympic and word winners that are based here in Barcelona, Spain. And we invite the group of those experts to give this workshop for the students and show them how this culture develop part of their approach with this activity. There is also a picture related with this. And finally, as a result, what we saw is we demonstrate that we can not necessarily have to be there to feel and see how the cultures are running our world today. We understand that with the COVID times, online and physical is also important, and be all together, and came with this idea after the situation, the pandemic situation worldwide. It was a very good approach for the students to understand this culture and see that sustainability can be work all together and inside one university campus. So this is all from my side. I just want to share with you how we develop this cultural and economical and companies idea in this COVID time. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Victor. I can't resist. You said a lot of things that triggered, some bit of information, which I will do very quickly before we go to our last speaker for tonight. The Lasallian University is the research depository of all entrepreneurial and family business studies in South Asia. That's one. Second, the Philippines. Okay, an expert told us, and this was a really huge surprise for us, we have the best preserved version of the Chinese opera. This research went all over. I was shocked. I didn't expect that. Because she went to mainland China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, you name it. She went everywhere, including the Philippines, and she was shocked to find out we had the most authentic Chinese opera. Okay, so we're very proud of that discovery. Also, a LaSalle alumnus of the university owns Toon City, which is in the top 25 of in the world animation studio. Their primary contractor is Disney. So every cartoon you've watched was probably made by them. Okay, and this alumnus actually second generation alumni from the school, and he has a great personal story to go also. It's very, very engaging. So anyway, that's just enough to tease you so that you get us involved in your activities, because we have so much to offer. So don't forget the Philippines, okay?
Yeah, anyway. I keep that on the top of my priority in my mind. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we go to our last but not the least speaker for this evening. We have Mark Humphrey Mendoza, who serves as the Director for External Linkages at one of our youngest schools, our baby school, but very aggressively growing, De La Salle College of St. Benilde. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you so much, Doc Lane. Not everyone knows that I actually started my day with Doc Lane because we were both in the CHED TNE webinar earlier today, and I'm ending my day also with Doc Lane. And being in this great company is really fantastic because I see familiar faces. I now can associate faces with names that are familiar to me. So I really feel like I am in great company this evening, but allow me to share my screen now. And I'm very excited to share with all of you Benilde's story of inclusion, our service learning program for both local and international students. And hopefully I'll still have some time to at least share with you one example of an amazing internationalization project that we were able to implement successfully during the pandemic. Let's begin by homing in on inclusion. And what better way to know more about inclusive education in Benilde than by hearing the story straight from the stakeholders. So I invite all of you to join me in watching this video prepared by the Benilde Center for Inclusive Education.
Since its inception, the LaSalle College of St. Benilde has been in the forefront of inclusive education in the Philippines.
Audio okay?
Starting as a college that caters to the needs of working students and the Filipino deaf community, Benilde over the years opened its arms to different marginalized groups such as persons with disabilities and those with learning conditions. To formalize its efforts in supporting students with learning needs, the college established the Center for Inclusive Education in 2015.
It started out as something voluntary, and it grew to become an office to assist students with special learning needs, not just during the time that they were outside of class, but also to assist them inside the classroom by providing accommodations that would allow them to participate and engage in their classes. And also, there were inclusion advocacy activities like seminars and workshops for them to understand the different disabilities and what kind of values they needed to exhibit so that they would be able to support our students and make sure that they succeed in their college life. So the way that we define Benildean inclusion is the continuous effort of the Benildean community to break barriers. So it's not just an end goal or a result, but it's actually the journey and the process. It's about providing reasonable accommodations to everyone in the community, students, associates, and other partners of the college, so that we're able to work towards Benilde's full potential towards inclusion.
Since formalizing its inclusion efforts, the college has assisted around 200 students with specific learning needs and helped countless other members of the community.
Benilde has always been such a welcoming place to me. I've met so many amazing people there, so many great advisors and professors who have really helped my journey.
Being in Benilde and joining the Best Buddies organization under the Center for Inclusive Education really changed my life because they taught me that by the simple act of kindness, love, acceptance, and friendship that you extend towards everybody, we can slowly turn the world around and make it a better place.
The inclusion efforts of Benilde enable me to become an overall better person, not just a teacher for the sake of teaching. These invigorate in me greater responsibility and deepen my understanding of people.
I'm just really happy and fortunate to be part of a society or a community that gives such great importance to inclusivity.
After I graduate college, I plan on continuing to pursue my advocacy towards inclusion by using my knowledge as a multimedia art student to create materials and collaterals to help people of the world understand how they can be more inclusive.
There is also an evident increase of strength in the culture of inclusion in Benilde. This is seen in the growing number of students and employees who are becoming advocates for inclusion. All these are summed up by the current reputation of the college as one of the best inclusive higher education institutions in the Philippines.
One thing that I'm proud of with Benilde is that when we say we are inclusive, it means that we are inclusive from the time that you apply to us until the time that you get to graduate. And it is our hope that we're able to actually provide assistance even with placement for internships and also placement in employment. That's one thing that we hope other Lasallian schools will replicate, as well as other private higher education institutions in the Philippines and even the state universities and colleges. We're still hoping that in the future, Benildean inclusion will seep down to the very core of Benilde, that every person who is a Benildean you will really be able to live out inclusion in the everyday.
With each passing day, the college becomes closer to its goal of creating a just and humane society. This is possible through the continued efforts of the college as well as the undying support of the community. Without a doubt, inclusion is in the DNA of each Benildian. Indeed, we are Benildians for all.
So I hope you all enjoyed that video. The Center for Inclusive Education story truly proves what they say. It takes a village to raise a child. In this case, it takes the entire Benild community working together to ensure that students who come from marginalized sectors due to challenges that are clinical, social, or physical in nature are able to gain access to the same opportunities, human rights, and fundamental freedoms as everyone else. Please allow me to continue my presentation with an overview of the Center for Faculty Advancement Service Learning Unit. Service Learning is a program integrated in the curriculum of all Benild degree programs with the goal of aiding in the social development formation of all students. It provides an avenue for students to apply their classroom learnings in real-world situations and projects that showcase their craft and skills while addressing an identified community need and gaining better understanding of social issues. In order to implement these projects, the Service Learning Unit maintains an active roster of partners that include NGOs and foundations, government organizations, including public schools, local government units, faith-based organizations, community-based organizations, as well as micro, small, medium, and social enterprises. Here are examples of implemented service learning projects. And I borrowed from the report of the Service Learning Unit. Salay Handmade is a social enterprise specializing in handmade paper located in Misamis Oriental. Our students who are taking up advanced entrepreneurship helped define and refine their business model as their service learning project. Another example is from the students taking up New Media and Society course. They partnered with Cuneta Elementary School in Pasay City, Metro Manila, to develop visual materials to help kids appreciate and understand Islam. And their final output was a series of comic books. Another example of an implemented project was students taking up the Interior Design Exhibit course. They partnered with the Philippine National School for the Blind during the pandemic, and they helped with the redesign of the interior of their Learning Resource Center. Here is the result, the before and after photo. So the interior design students did not even physically go to the Philippine School for the Blind. The interaction with the stakeholders happened online during the pandemic, and they just simply managed the construction and the refurbishment of this particular facility. Lastly, students taking up Philippine photography partnered with Museo El Deposito under the National Historical Commission. And their project was to photograph bridges that were constructed during the Spanish period and document their current condition. The output of this project was a photo exhibit. These are all just a handful of so many service learning projects that Benildians have taken part in over the years. And I'm excited to let you know that this same experience and exposure is something that we also offer to our inbound short-term international students through our International Service Learning Program. May I invite you to please watch this very short 2-minute video showcasing international service learning. So that particular video featured the last batch of Unilasal students who came to Manila right before the pandemic. They were the batch who were able to go back home to France right before we all closed our borders. And based on all the previous cohorts who came to Manila and took part in an I-service learning experience, they all say that this was the highlight of their trip. And they gained the most learning from the immersion in the community or the NGO that they were assigned, as well as all of the field trips and immersion trips that they went, that they attended with their mentors. Doc Lane, I'm minding the time. It's already 15 minutes to the hour. So do I still have time for one example of an internationalization activity, or because I can already end my presentation?
How long is it, Mark?
Perhaps if you can give me maybe 3 minutes to go over one
Okay.
really good example. Okay. If you'll allow me, if you'll indulge me, everyone, one amazing lesson that we learned during the pandemic was, if you're able to find the right partner who will be just as agile and creative as you will be able to achieve goals that you've set for yourself. One great example on how we demonstrated resilience and agility and creativity during the pandemic was how we utilized existing resources such as Facebook and YouTube and Zoom to implement our recipe exchange project with 2 Canadian partners. They were supposed to visit Manila for a student exchange, but obviously we had to shift our strategy when the pandemic threw a wrench into all of our travel plans. With amazing support from the Canadian Embassy, would you believe that raw ingredients such as Canadian beef and lobster were flown into Manila and delivered straight to our students' homes so that they can cook their dishes and thus still enjoy a multi-sensory learning experience? So how did they do this? The students, they worked at home in their own kitchens because they couldn't access the kitchen laboratories in school. And then they took videos of them preparing their recipes, and then they would exchange. So there were demo videos and return demo videos, and all of these exchanges were happening over YouTube and the Facebook page that was created for this particular project. And all the discussions and interactions between the participants all took place on the Facebook page. This was so successful that all stakeholders involved ended up competing in the first ever virtual Philippine-Canada Culinary Cup, which was another internationalization engagement that was done purely online following our recipe exchange model. So really, what I would like to share is, sometimes when you're able to find the right partner and the right support, you will be able to implement amazing internationalization engagements despite the limitations that the lockdown and the pandemic would throw your way. So I will end my presentation here. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mark. You won the gold and the silver. Not bad.
We did, Doc Lane.
Oh, this is an incentive for you guys to come to the Philippines. We cook well. I think that a lot of people don't know the reason why we don't have a lot of Michelin stars for our restaurants and chefs is because of the supply chain. So our problem is not the recipes or the chefs and their capability. It's the supply chain. That's where we fail, because I think you know very well how difficult it is to get things in to the country. Okay, so Mark, you guys are very lucky. My gosh, steak and lobster, both sinful. I hope your cholesterol didn't shoot up. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much. We had such one. I hope the other groups were just as exciting as ours. Okay. I think we were all kept awake with the inputs from James, Victor, and Mark, who shared a lot of really wonderful things. So maybe we can pick up some of the things that we want to clarify and ask our questions right now to them. One of the questions that actually sprung up was with regards to James' input on Laudato Si. The question was, could there be involvement at the individual level and not just at the institutional level? So James, the first question is up to you.
Yes, the invitation is to everyone, where inside out. So through their roles, I was Victor and presentation sort of illustrating that. The we don't have permission. We begin. We've been invited. So yes, individuals should create their own action plan. I've been trying to figure out how we can in with the university's plan, and then with my parish plan. One thing technologically we've been advocating with the Vatican needs to distinguish between personal commitment, which lots of people wanted to do in May when it first came up, and the institutional.
Okay. Have we lost James? Are you going? We're okay. Okay. Thank you for that, James. Are there any other questions from the floor? Anyone, please? Oh, you're so quiet.
I have one question for Victor.
Go ahead.
I
please.
wonder if that experience you show us, so you brought Asia to your campus, and are you bringing Spain to their campuses, or are you planning to do it with another country?
Well, that is a very good question, Diana, because and I'm very sorry, Laureen, that we couldn't include Philippines in this first experience. But we have a limitation of the space, limitation of budget, the limitation of, people related with the, economical and cultural approach. But we are focused also in some countries as Philippines and so many others. So as a first experience, Diana, we just thought, why we are not develop this idea every single year with many different countries coming to, to our place. And of course, that came out with the idea of Latin America, North America, Africa, making that approach, and the students can see, different cultures, different approach, different possibilities that, as I said at the beginning, COVID brings so many bad things to us, but discover and uncover, we discover finally that the small details are important, and keeping in touch, touching each other, it's also important, and the cultural approach make that things possible. So the answer finally, Diana, is yes. We are thinking to implement the same idea one day for different world regions.
Okay. and maybe you could use, and I mean this, we, during our leadership programs, especially the student programs, which are, I think, wider in these cultural experiences, we do that in a micro environment, and I think that it's just marvelous to watch what happens. But you have 62 universities to choose from, and maybe this could be the start of a great international collaboration between Lasalle universities, because you already have all the diversity at your hand.
Exactly.
And that will take me also to Mark with the same question. We saw Canada and we saw UniLasalle, but what you do with UniLasalle, are you planning to do it with a mix of multicultural students or a mix of students from many universities?
Absolutely, Deanna. The service learning program and our short-term inbound student mobility program is open to everybody. Um, we were hoping that, and we're actually praying and hoping that by the next school year, autumn, fall of 2022, we would be able to once again host students. Here's hoping that that would happen by then.
Well, we left our leadership program that was supposed to happen at Benil that we
That's
couldn't do.
true.
So
We were
I
supposed
hope
to host
too
it
that you're
last
able
year.
to welcome us.
Perhaps, okay. By the way, our chancellor is here, Mr. Ben Herong. Hello, Sir Ben. So hopefully, in the future, we can plan for Binild to
Definitely.
host such an event once again, right, Sir Ben?
Definitely, sir. We're open to that. Because we're open because I still a lot of things going on here in the Philippines. So we have a general election next year. So hopefully it turns out well.
Exciting.